These few people, those who are able to present well, they stand at a much better chance to go through this exam. Let me come out with rather I would say a story. Because for this administrative thinker, we would require some amount of flexibility in your mind. Because most of your engineers or most of your, I would say, from non-humanities background. Because being a student from non-humanities background, it can be some sort of, it can be somewhat, I would say, let me use politically a correct term, because students from engineering or let's say science or applied science or medicine or commerce, they are good students. They are hard-working, good students. But they are at the same time the victim of what we can say a type of rigidity. They are the victim of some sort of binary understanding. 2 plus 2. What is the calculation? Acha, is it so difficult? 2 plus 2. What is the calculation? So you should not be sighing so much. It is 4. But in humanities, it might come out to be 2, it might come out to be 22, it might be 5. Why I am saying? Because more and more we study, maybe you will be able to realize this. That is why I would say that in humanities, you need some sort of flexibility in the muscle that you carry in your mind. Your brain muscles should be slightly flexible. Then it will easily flow into you and it will easily flow out of you. Because in physical science, in physics, chemistry or astronomy, see, whatever we are studying, there's a very famous philosopher, Alfred Weber, he stated that in physical science, there is a objective study of objective things. Objective means that which does not vary. That's what is objective. Moment I say 4, 5, 6. 4, it is constant or variable? Constant. 4 is constant. 5 is constant. So it is not variable. Anything that is not variable, that is what is referred to as objective. Something which is variable, that is what is referred to as subjective. Like let's say if I have to count, okay, this number of students are sitting here at this moment listening me on this offline mode, and number of these students are listening me on the online mode. This is basically an objective statement or subjective statement. Objective. Start learning. Because these terms are going to be important for us in our these classes. We have to build our vocabulary. This is an objective statement because this is something not variable. But now, if I say the students who are listening to me are good students, or let's say bad students. So good or bad, this is something variable or constant? Variable. This is what we refer to as subjective. Now, if I refer to a robot is a machine, a robot. Robot will be categorized into objective or subjective category. Objective. Why objective? Because robot do not have a mind of its own. Maybe we can say, okay, artificial intelligence is there, or blockchain and all these thinkings are coming up. So, but again, even if you talk about at this moment, whatever technology we have, the machine thinking, even today is programmed. Even the artificial intelligence is also programmed. But if you talk about a human being, we say the human being, we are saying the artificial intelligence, that particular thing, we are saying is coming closer to something like a human. Why we say that? Because it is moving away from something typically a machine character towards a human character. Machine character means something already programmed, the behavior is static, the reactions are static. But the moment you talk about a human being, truly human being, what is typical to our character? Are we predictable? Not entirely. We can be, but not entirely. Why? Because we are thinking being. Thinking. Things go on inside our mind. That defines our behavior. It can actually put us in any state. We can behave in X way, we can behave in Y way. So that makes human being a subjective or objective character? Subjective. Now coming back, if you take into account this theorist, he stated that physical science is an objective study of objective things. Objective study means when we are studying, when we are trying to be scientific, scientific. Science means what? Systematized study to develop credible and consistent understanding of certain phenomena. That's what is science. The moment you say science, science means what? Systematized study. You can choose not to write these things. I'm just trying to initiate you people to certain type of thinking so that I can, with some sort of smoothness, enter into those typical administrative thinkers. So when you talk about science, science is simply systematized study. But merely a systematic study is not science. One of the ingredient of science is you have to go about systematically. You have to study systematically. But that's the purpose of the science. Science is purposive. It is not undertaken without a purpose. It is purposive. What is the purpose of science? To develop a set of knowledge that help us to understand reality, and that set of knowledge is a credible set of knowledge. Credible means on which we can rely, we can trust. So science is a systematic study of reality or some phenomena that helps us develop credible and consistent understandings. That's why we'll say science leads towards theory, or science leads towards principles or generalizations. These principles or generalizations are nothing but set of ideas. Those are consistent, those are credible, those are precise. That's what we say. That is nothing but trustworthy knowledge. The knowledge on which we can trust, and the knowledge with regard to certain phenomena. So when we say physical science, it's a type of study. And what type of study? Objective study. Objective means you don't put your value. Value means you don't put your thinking, your preferences, your biases. You try to study in a very, very sincere, disciplined way of what is the ingredient you study, what is the matter of study. In physics you study physical world. In chemistry you study chemicals. So those are variable or constant? Constant. Objective study of objective things. But when it comes to social science is the objective study of both objective as well as subjective things. So when you are studying objectively an objective thing, and as compared to studying objectively both objective and subjective thing, these things you can choose not to write. If you are writing, write, but again you can have the leeway not to write these things at the moment. So coming back to what I was discussing, when we study objectively both objective as well as subjective things, like let's say public administration. Public administration is a pure physical science or social science? Social science. We say it is a social science. Here we study maybe later on will be much more clearer what we are going to study. Roughly, we say that we are going to study government, let's say, because that is what very often come to our mind. That's what very often come to our mind. That moment we take a public administration, maybe we are going to study government, or there are people who will say we are going to study government in action. That's what we are going to study. Now, moment you study government in action, is government action is independent of human being within it? Because who is going to ultimately be the driver of this action? A human being. A large number of human beings. So when you talk about, let's say, the government and government in action, there are both objective things are there and subjective things are there. Why objective things? We say Rashtrapati Bhavan. Can people work without a building? No. Pen, paper, table, chair, fan, or let's say the lights. Can people work without this? Or vehicles? So if you take into account these things are objective or subjective? Objective. Building is important for the government to work. If there is no building, government cannot work. If there is no pen, no paper, or nowadays let's say there is no laptops or desktops, if there is no let's say local area network or wide area network or internet and all these things, government today cannot work. So that means the functioning of the government today, the government in action, is dependent on number of these factors, and these factors are what? Objective. But there is one creature inside it that is going to make hell lot of difference to all these beautiful and nice static things. That is the human being. And that human being is subjective. Because that human being is going to create lot of things within it, both positive and negative. That human being is going to be happy inside, sad inside, jealous inside, chaotic inside, friendly, violent, peaceful. Number of these things are going to be there, scheming, helping, everything. That human being within the organization is going to take up lot of these things. So that makes this particular study both objective as well as subjective. That is why I was saying that if you talk about physical science, in physical science, it has a orientation that is slightly different to that of the social science, because in physical science, maybe the binary things are important, binary orientations are important, even if continuum is important, but in that continuum also there is binary. But when it comes to social science, the subjectivity makes it immensely challenging as well as interesting. As I was saying, 2 plus 2 is 4, that's well established. But when it comes to social science, we need to be ready that at times the 2.2 might be 4, at times 2 plus 2 might be 5, or at times 2 plus 2 could be